Dear friend, once again welcome to our channel. In series of law related to women, our topic for today is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013. Let us see what we are going to cover in this. We are going to cover objective and background, arrangement of section, key definition, key provision and leading case related to this act. Objective and background of the act. So if you know related to molestation to women either at workplace or anywhere, primarily there are two sections in IPC. One is section 354 which talk about outrage of modesty of women. So basically it is nothing but molestation. And second is 509 of IPC, insult to modesty is equivalent to attempt to outrage of modesty. So these are only two sections. However, there are no proactive law to ensure proactive redressal and approach, prohibition and prevention of sexual harassment or any complaint against the woman and especially at workplace. So there was one very infamous case happened in Rajasthan and it is also named as Bisakha versus State of Rajasthan, as you may be aware, in which one NGO worker was brutally raped and assaulted, and in absence of law, there was no serious punishment taken. Considering all this, Supreme Court issued certain guideline and recommended government to enact law for this. And by the time government enact law, the Supreme Court issued certain guidelines to be followed by all employer as a proactive approach for prevention of sexual harassment. However, the central government enacted this law during 2013, and by that time the Supreme Court guideline become out obsolete and this act become into the force. So this is about objective and background of the act. Arrangement of section, let us see, being a small act there are only 30 sections, though they are divided into 8 chapters. So it is in front of a screen. Instead of reading, we will go one by one in detail so that you will understand all these sections one by one. As usual in any act in beginning, there are key definitions and there are several definitions in this act also. However, we are discussing only three main important definitions from understanding point of view. Other definitions are just related to explaining authority in the act and other provisions. So first is aggrieved woman. Let us understand what is aggrieved woman. Aggrieved woman is a woman who is a complainant for any sexual harassment alleged to occur with her at the workplace, and she may be employed or not employed, and respondent again whom she raised complaint may also be employed or not employed. Means any woman due to any reason, either due to employment or some other work, came to workplace and she was subjected to some sexual harassment and she is making complaint, then she will be aggrieved woman. And respondent can be anybody, the other employee or any other person came at the workplace for some other purpose. So this is about aggrieved woman. So one important thing is about aggrieved woman, it is not necessary that she should be employed at the workplace. Other important definition, section 2 is domestic worker. So this act also take care sexual harassment for the domestic worker also. So domestic worker means any worker who make complaint and who is employed at that particular house. Means for domestic worker it is necessary that she should be working as a household support or maid at that particular house where someone has made any sexual harassment to her. So this is about domestic worker. Difference between aggrieved worker and domestic worker is aggrieved woman may need not to be employed. However, domestic worker need to be employed at that house where complaint has been raised for sexual harassment. Other most important definition is sexual harassment under section 2N. So sexual harassment being very wide term, the act try to define it under following five subheadings. So first is if someone or respondent means person against whom complaint has been raised, make any physical contact or advancement, any type of physical contact or advancement. For example, if woman is working on her working place and some colleague or employee came and while touching the mouse assisting hand press her hand also, so that is also equivalent to physical contact or advancement if it is done with the intention of harassing that woman sexually. Other is demand or request for sexual favor, or other is making sexual color remark, any dialogue which is having no mix sexual color remark, and showing pornography, either seeing himself and with a view that it is visible to that woman also, that is also equivalent to showing pornography. And last one is very vast, any other unwelcome conduct of sexual nature, it may be verbal, it may be non-verbal, it may be physical or anything else which is equivalent to sexual harassment. You see, sexual harassment coverage is very wide under section 2n. However, section 3 also talks some of the provision at workplace which will be considered as deemed sexual harassment. So what is these deemed sexual harassment at workplace? Means if any senior employee or senior officer including employer at workplace doing any preferential treatment to any woman with an intention later to demand sexual favor, it also considered to be deemed sexual harassment. And if at workplace any woman is subjected to any threat with the purpose of getting sexual favor, it also sexual harassment. And third one is hostile environment to the woman. Means at workplace anybody is talking any vulgar language and not considering the presence of women, and there is no control over this environment, that is also considered as deemed sexual harassment. And fourth one is any condition which is dangerous to health and safety of the woman is also deemed sexual harassment. Means there is no provision for locker for women and there is no privacy to the woman. There are no separate bathroom, and if bathrooms are there, the privacy is not maintained. All these are considered in last point condition dangerous to health and safety of women, and these all will be considered deemed sexual harassment. So you have seen that under section 2n and section 3, so wide range of actions are covered under sexual harassment. Let us go next to the chapter second section 4, which talk about constitution of ICC. ICC mean internal complaint committee, its tenure and removals of member. Any workplace where employer is having equal to or more than 10 employee, it is obligated for the employer to make ICC. And for ICC, the chairperson should be senior woman, half of the members should be women, and one member should be up from outside, like from any NGO. And if workplace employer has workplace spreaded on different locations, the participation in this ICC should be from each workplace, or there should be dedicated or standalone ICC at each workplace. Tenure for this ICC is generally 3 years. However, before 3 years, any member can be removed on the following ground as in the screen. If any person doing any act in violation of section 16 of the act, then that person may be removed. Section 16 is nothing but talking about that any complaint under this act, the name of the party to be keep confidential and not to be revealed. And any violation of this is subjected to removal of the person from ICC. And if any imprisonment happen to that member, or that person is under trial, or that person is abusing its position as ICC, may be removed from ICC membership. The section 5 talk about notification of district officer, and it is to be done by appropriate government at district level. For state government, for each state district, state government will release notification for appointment of district officer, and for union territory, union government. And generally district officers is equivalent to rank of collector or assistant collector. So section 5 talk about this. Section 6 talk about local complaint committee at district level. So now the district officer appointed under section 5 will be accountable for constituting local complaint committee for this sexual harassment prevention, prohibition and redressal at district level. This will be done by district officer, and each taluka or block of the district will be having equal representation in terms of member in the LCC, and jurisdiction will be entire district. Section 7 talk about constitution and tenure of LCC. So it's less or more same like section 4 we discussed. Chairperson will be senior woman, one woman from each block or taluka, and two from NGOs, and one from SC, ST or OBC. Tenure is 3 years and removal of ground are same as we discussed in section 4 for ICC. And these committee member will be paid for the sufficient pay, wages compensation, and for this in section 8 provision are made for grant for money to this committee, and provision for audit for fair and smooth functioning of this committee. Now chapter 4 talk about complaint under section 9. Any woman within 90 days can make written or oral complaint to ICC or LCC as the case may be. For example, at workplace employer, complaint may be made to ICC, and at domestic worker, complaint can be made to LCC by domestic worker. Complaint can be made by herself, or if unable, by her here, like her husband, spouse, or his family member like son or daughter, etc. And a committee may accept complaint beyond 90 days also if there are justified reason from such woman. So when complaint is received, the committee will look prima facie and try to do conciliation for this complaint. And if conciliation has happened, there will be no further inquiry, and there will be no further inquiry if matter is settled, and the conciliation will be with free consent of the woman only, and no money involved in the settlement. Means there will be no transaction of money involved. So it will be no just repenting at the case of respondent and committing that he will not complain again and giving in writing. So there should be no money given at the committee level. So this is the conciliation procedures. If conciliation is not successful, then under section 11, the inquiry into complaint will be done by committee, and the timeline is 90 days. And in case of domestic worker, the LCC will report the matter a prima facie case established to police to take action under section 5090 of IPC as we discussed before. And these committee will have all the power of civil court, like summoning the person and asking for evidence, asking for personal attendance, and affidavit and oath by the person who is under inquiry. However, this committee will not have power to punishment as civil court have. Section 12 is action during pendency of inquiry. So since 90 days is a long duration, and that time things to be favorable, and working conditions should be good for the woman who made complaint. So on the request of woman, the woman may be transferred to other place, or respondent may be also transferred. So this will be on request of woman, and such woman may be given additional paid leave for 3 months, or any other relief to the such woman as prescribed under the rule of employer, or as prescribed by government. In section 13, once inquiry is done, the inquiry report to be submitted within 10 days. Means total within 100 days of complaint, the inquiry report should be submitted as the case may be, in case of ICC to employer, or in case of LCC to district officer for taking action. And this report will have recommendation either for compensation to be paid by respondent, or if it is a prima facie neutral case, for just uh, a recommendation will be appropriately either no punishment or compensation. And in case there was false complaint or false evidence, the provision is under section 14. The provision it will be as per service rule or as prescribed by government. So in case there is false complaint, no, there may be some type of action may be taken on the complainant, and if somebody is giving false evidence, again action can be taken accordingly as per service rule. Section 15 talk about determination of compensation. So how compensation will be determined, and it is to be paid by respondent. Worth noting, the suffering of the woman to be considered, that how much woman mentally or physically has suffered, or what are the career opportunity losses suffered by women, and in case medical expenses has been incurred due to physical assault or something, that to be considered. So first 3 points are the woman complainant part, and two are the respondent part, income and status of the respondent. And seeing the status and income level, the compensation may be lump sum or installation. And in case respondent is not paying the compensation, the district officer may recovered from the respondent this compensation as area of land revenue. Other is section 16, prohibition of publication of content, as we seen in section 4 and section 6. Here name of the party not to be disclosed even after the settlement or after the case is closed. If somebody is violating this, the punishment or necessary consequences in form of penalty may be imposed. And penalty for publication under violation of section 16 as per again employer's service rule or as per state prescription. Section 18 talk about appeal in case any matter has been disposed by committee and any agreed party, it may be a woman agreed person or it may be respondent, may go to court at tribunal as prescribed within 90 days of the decision. Chapter 6 is about duty of employer. Section 19 talk about that employer has to form internal complaint committee and has to comply for the provision of the act, and any violation will be dealt under section 26, we will discuss subsequently. Chapter 7 is about duty and power of district officer. There is only one section 20 which talk about the district officer will be overall responsible for whole district to ensure that there are no sexual harassment case, and in case of any complaint, the necessary action has been initiated, inquiry are completed in time, and compensation is being paid as per the recommendation. And further, the district officer will also create awareness through NGOs so that people are aware of provision of sexual harassment and their consequences under this Act of 2013. Chapter 8 is miscellaneous, and there are some section, but important section are only section 26 and 27. 26 talk about penalty for non-compliance to employer. So if employer is not doing compliance to any of the provision of the act, the penalty may be 50,000 for the first non-compliance, and if it is repeated it may be twice, maybe 1 lakh, like this. Section 27 talk about cognizance of offence by court. So any cognizance of the offence under this act will be by metropolitan magistrate or judicial magistrate of first class. Leading case, as we discussed, is main leading case is Bisakha versus State of Rajasthan, and this case is so prominent that this is the trigger for this acts of sexual harassment of women at workplace. And the case was quite old in 1997, and Supreme Court released guideline that by the time government bring law, as we discussed before, this guideline to be followed by all employer. So we covered all these sub topic we planned under this act. I am sure with this explanation your understanding of the topic will be clear. Thank you for very much for watching this. If you have any further comment, please mention in comment box. I will be happy to reply. If you find this useful, please subscribe, like and share to your friend. Thank you very much for watching this till end.